Hello students. This is Levels of Questions Part 2. The first thing that you need to know before beginning today is that you cannot complete Part 2 of Levels of Questions lessons unless you have completed Levels of Questions Part 1. This was the lesson from yesterday. If you have not completed the lesson from yesterday, please retrieve your handout, go back to the videos, and work your way through. Once you've completed that part of the assignment, you can resume this part of the video. If you are ready and you've completed that lesson, good job. You must have worked really hard yesterday to keep pace. Let's start by making sure that we have all of our supplies. We need this handout, something to write with, and our copy of Lupita Mañana. If you need a hard surface to write on, make sure you obtain that as well. Let's start off and make sure that we have our heading on our paper by writing our name, first and last, the date. If you are doing this at the same time as me, it is March 13th, and place your English period on this line. Let's start by reading our objective. Today's objective is, today I am identifying the characteristics of varying levels of questions so that I can become better prepared to participate in academic discussions. I know I will have met the objective when I have written a discussion question for each level about Lupita Mañana. So our power verb today is the word identifying. And we're identifying the characteristics of varying levels of questions. So I know that yesterday we learned about questions. Today we're learning about levels of questions. So that's going to be a little bit different than good versus bad questions. And then identifying means we're locating them. The goal, though, today, unlike yesterday, is that we'll actually be writing the discussion questions for each of the levels. So that's a little more complicated than yesterday. Make sure that you've rated your objective, and when you're ready, move on to the sentence to correct. There are 2 sentences today, and the first one reads, "Write your name in the corner," he said, "and put your title on the first line." Make your corrections, and then resume the video when you're ready to go. Alright, good job for holding yourself accountable. When we start this off, this is not the right kind of write. This should be W-R-I-T-E. And notice that I capitalized that W because it's the first word in the sentence. Write your name in the corner, he said. Oh, so there's someone talking. So I need to separate that with a comma and put quotation marks around that first part of what they say. Write your name in the corner, he said. And then he continues to talk. So I put another comma and continue the quotation marks and put your title on the first line. The quotations end here, and I put my punctuation, which is the period, here. And then it looks pretty good. Make sure that you write the sentence correctly on the lines below. It's pretty easy for us to know that you're just copying what is written on the video instead of using your own mind when you do things like skip this section of the assignment. The second sentence for correction is, "When is your school having its open house?" asked Mary. All right, lots of errors. Go ahead and go through the sentence and make your corrections. Good job. We again know that someone is talking, so I'm putting these quotation marks. "When is your school having its open house?" asked Mary. So the quotations end when the person stops talking. I capitalize the first word of the sentence. And it's not yours school, it's just your. That's possessive enough. Having its open house. Now, you might have been tempted to put an apostrophe here because this is possessive. But in this case, with its, the apostrophe is only used for the conjunction it is. So we wouldn't say, "When is your school having it is open house?" When we want to use the possession, we just leave it alone. Since this is a question, I do need a question mark before the quotations, and then we have asked Mary. Mary is a proper noun, so I need to capitalize it and punctuate with a period. If you've got all these corrections, good job. Go ahead and write the corrected sentence on the lines below. Now let's take a peek at our last question, reviewing main idea. Again, the directions ask us, what is the main idea of the following paragraph? Underline 2 supporting details to justify your answer. Let's read the passage. When scientists explore a sea vent on the ocean floor, what are they looking for? Far below the surface, the atmosphere is dark, hot, and under a lot of pressure. Not only that, sea vents expel toxic chemicals that would kill ordinary sea creatures. So, what are they looking for? Life forms. That's right. They are looking for unusual forms of life that thrive on sulfur. Explorers find Jericho worms, orange worms, red palm worms, and giant tube worms living and growing at an amazingly fast speed around sea vents. Let's see. I think that in terms of finding the main idea, this one's a little bit more tricky because this one doesn't necessarily have the main idea stated directly, certainly not at the beginning. But I know that they're talking a lot about looking for these life forms around their sea vent. So I want to see that it's something definitely along with that. In this case, I'm going to use the 2 W's strategy. Who and what. So the who of this, I think, is the scientists. That's what they're doing. So for my main idea, I'm starting off with the scientists. And then the what is, okay, what are they doing? Well, it sounds like they're looking for unusual creatures around these sea vents. If I have enough supporting details, I'll be able to find enough branches that back that up. So I could see, okay, well, they're looking around the sea vents. Okay, the sea vents expel the chemicals that would kill ordinary sea creatures. So that's evidence that they're not just looking for ordinary sea creatures, that in fact they find Jericho worms, orange worms, red palm worms, and giant tube worms living around the sea vents. So instead of finding ordinary creatures, they're finding these unusual ones. I think the main idea is actually in this sentence right here. They are looking for unusual forms of life that thrive on sulfur. So as my main idea, I might say scientists are looking for unusual forms of life around sea vents. Awesome. If you agree with me, please do the same. When you're ready to move on, let's do our direct instruction on the next page. Our direct instruction section is pretty short today because we have some reading from Lupita Mañana to do. Yesterday we talked about the terms academic, discussion, and question. Today we bring them all together to review the definition of an academic discussion question. So in terms of the definition for this, I would say a prompt or question that gets two or more people to engage, means participate in, a scholarly conversation. Please make sure that you have this definition down. Excellent. Now that you have this definition, we're actually going to take a break to read Chapter 2, Part 2 of Lupita Mañana. As you're reading, try to be thinking of good discussion questions. Remember, that's level 3, application and higher. All right? So go ahead and go to the chapters section of the website. Click on the link for Chapter 2, Part 2 of Lupita Mañana and listen to and read along with that chapter. When you're ready, you'll continue with the second part of this lesson. Thank you.